Hey there everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again. Today we're going to be talking about rules that you as a DM have often broken. Now this could be a good thing or it could be a very bad thing. A bad example would be maybe a rule that saves a life is now no longer in effect. Death saves, who needs them? You die straight out. Or on the flip side, if something's going to kill a player and you know it will do so, bending the rules to ensure that they survive might be the best option. Today, let's talk about what's a rule that you as a DM break often. And what rule have you broken often as a DM? We don't know, so put it down in the comments below. Usually, if a player knocks an enemy down to 1 HP, I say they've killed it just to speed things along. I frequently said the party has killed a creature when it's 1. Awesome! Smashing a heavy crit down on someone for 30 HP? Dead. Who cares if they have 4 HP left? Or 2. Convenient, there are now 7 goblins I have to keep track of instead of 8. It's actually one of the things I dislike about some of the automated online tracking systems because they let the players know when fudging happens like the above examples, and it does rob the moment somewhat in my view. I fudge enemy HP a lot. I definitely go in with a number and I apply the character's damage to that number. But in terms of creating an experience, I generally think that it's more important for a fight to last a certain amount of time or a number of rounds. Sometimes I guess pretty well on how much HP I need to get the correct number of rounds as well. Sometimes though, I'm guess way off, and in that case I often kind of just let them smack at it until we've consumed the amount of time I expected to consume, or someone does something really cool. Now, somebody actually had a counterpoint to this comment, and quite frankly, we thought we should present both sides on this particular issue. So, as a reply, we saw, as a DM and as a player, I hate this approach. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Now, as a DM, I would rather have either of the two extremes of the party decimating my enemies or the fight ending in a TPK, rather than force myself to have to rework enemy HP on the fly to make an encounter last as long as I think it should. As a player, I want to know that if I do something that mechanically should kill the creature in one shot, the DM will follow the rules. It makes the moment even more special when I don't know the stat block of the creature we're fighting. That's when I know the DM is not going to pull his punches with us. But he's also going to be fair about how he deals with combat when we do something epic. The overarching reason is very simple. It breaks immersion in the game. I don't care if it's a little meta-gamey if the DM throws a monster at me and I know exactly what its HP is because I've used that same monster. They damn well better not fudge the HP mid-fight just to make the fight last longer in the event the party did enough damage to kill it faster than the DM planned. Now as a player, I'll be very annoyed because I'll know what the DM did. At that point, nothing we do as a party will ever matter. I know we won't die because the DM won't let it happen, and I know we won't be able to kill something until the DM says it should die. For all my fellow DMs out there, if you do this, your players will figure it out, and combat will become meaningless to them. The DM screen exists for a reason. This is a game, and part of the game is the mystery behind it. If you throw a group of monsters at a party and they lawnmower through the encounter in one round, that's awesome for the players, and it's a learning experience for you as a DM. Now you know how much they can handle and what you can throw at them later. Don't cheapen the experience by arbitrarily forcing them to sit through a combat for as long as you think it should take. In my not-so-humble opinion, DMs who take this route are either too scared to let the dice fall where they may, or too lazy to plan their combats in a more balanced manner. Experienced DMs should have a decent sense of how to balance an encounter well enough to give the party a challenge without it being too difficult for them to handle. And if you're still not sure if your encounter will be too hard for the party, well, plan out the encounter and self-play test it. Run through a mock combat using the party's characters and see how things shake out. If you dust them, scale back the challenge just a bit. If they dust the enemies, of course, scale up. Then when the players reach that encounter, you'll know you've done what you can to make sure it's a challenging encounter that they still have a chance to win. I actually really like the take on this, 10 out of 10. I actively encourage the party to split. That unwritten rule is silly. Now, I'm not saying you should do something like, I don't know, follow one group for 2 hours before switching back to the other. That generally won't fly with your players. But if you go back and forth between the groups regularly, it can work just fine. I've been on the player and DM side of regular party splits, and we rarely go over 15 minutes without a perspective swap. When I was playing in Tomb of Annihilation, we constantly split into 2 groups with different party members each time, and it was incredible. Threats seem so much bigger when you ventured off in a smaller group, so there's a lot more tension, and interesting character interactions can occur when it's just you and another PC exploring away from the main group. So I would argue that you can absolutely make a habit of it. You just have to be respectful of each other and have a DM who can manage it properly. So the script guy actually wanted to chime in on this. It depends on the party makeup and the campaign setting. If you're running through something like, I don't know, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, you split up, you're dead. But other settings, maybe not so much. In my longest running campaign, we got 8 players. We're often splitting up into multiple groups to accomplish different tasks, and it makes for some interesting scenarios. It builds a lot of inner character relationships that wouldn't necessarily exist if the party constantly stayed in one big group. For example, my character is in a relationship with another party member, but when we're doing things that require someone to do investigation, my character's boyfriend goes off with a different member of the party to do those things, while my character will tend to go off and do something else she's more suited for. It works out well for the group mechanically, and it builds other relationships within the group that otherwise wouldn't have happened. So yeah, it can work out fine if everyone is on board with splitting up into separate smaller groups to accomplish a bigger task. Thanks, script guy, for the weigh-in. You're welcome! I use saving throws for a lot of things that aren't raw, setting the DC on the fly. Like if a character is about to do something really stupid, I'll have them roll an int saving throw, especially if their character would know better. The reason this is technically breaking a rule is that the DMG specifically says that a saving throw is always due to something or somebody else. Also, I give custom skill proficiencies for things in the character's backstories. As an example, my druid is proficient with animal handling, only for wolves. My fighter can fish, and the rogue has expertise in practical jokes. Lets the players have fun during character creation, and it gives me an excuse to make encounters that are themed in such a way that the character still gets to use the skill. Cats have dark vision. Not a rule as such, but I generally only use gold for money. And anything else less than 1 GP, I just let them have unless they're taking the piss. That means you're basically screwing about. If I really need to, I'll use it, but I just find it slows the game down and no one ever gets that it's 10 silver pieces to 1 gold, not 100. Say they need to buy 4 overnight stays at an inn. I'll generally say, someone mark off a gold piece to cover you all, etc. If your players can't do the simple math from platinum to gold to silver to copper, that sounds like a totally different problem. Just saying. That was from the script guy, and I feel called out because I'd sit there and I'd go, carry the 1, the 5, the 2, crap baskets, and I would just be like, handing it all off to the bard or something. I borrowed Matt Mercer's drinking a potion is a bonus action rule, though feeding one to someone else is still an action. It makes sense. Using most of your turn to heal only to be hit before your next turn is a frustrating thing I'd rather avoid. Generally, I tend to use the rule of cool. If someone wants to do something really cool or inventive, which they technically shouldn't be able to do, I'll tend to let them roll for it at least. You don't have to declare freeing a hand to cast a somatic spell in my games. I assume you tuck your weapon to free a hand and simply can't make attacks of opportunity that round unless you state otherwise. It's my preference to watching certain classes playing hot potato with their weapons. There is an often repeated rule for DMs that you should never let the player see behind the curtain. It's something about verisimilitude, or the illusion that you planned it all from the start. I often tell my players when we're in uncharted waters, that way they know I'm reacting to them as much as they are reacting to me. Sometimes I'll throw in new plot twists that even I didn't see coming, just to keep everyone on their toes. I do this so that the players know they can do or say whatever they feel is actually appropriate, and it won't hurt me one bit. I feel it helps the players to think more creatively if they know that we're all in the same boat together. I really respect this, by the way. That DM sounds amazing. I don't follow the guidelines for magical item allocation. Players have the most buy-in when they feel potent, and a magic item of slightly higher rarity at early levels can go a long way towards enthusiasm. I can always adjust the opposition to compensate or neutralize advantages as a DM. I'm more concerned with players actively being engaged than mechanical guidelines. All of them, when I feel like it. Remember, the rules themselves even state that they're just guidelines. It's your game. When something is applicable but doesn't feel thematically right, don't do it. If you've gotten a ruling wrong this whole time and 17 games in you find out it really does something completely different, why change it now if it already works as is? Unless the real one's actually way better, well, duh. I'm not saying it's not sloppy, of course, but it's fun to make mistakes and changes as you need or see fit. Just be transparent with your players about your mistakes and any reasonings behind changes. As long as you don't abuse this freedom, then the rules are made to be broken. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell. Yes, ring the bell, break the rules, break the algorithm, ring the bell and comment. That way you might appear on one of these videos with a story that you have told. Or you might even be the person responsible for starting a whole new thread, which means a whole new video, which means a whole new set of topics. Dun dun da da dun. That said, if you'd like to come talk to me, say hi to your local favorite narrator and voice actor from Ohio, Brian, this guy, me, hello, then come do so through my website, looking all the way at the bottom. You see that little icon on the very bottom that says all my socials? I'm on Twitch, Twitter, Discord, all of it. I stream a lot on Twitch, and I'd like to meet all of you. And plus, growing on there would help me grow as a person, voice actor, and an entertainer in general. So come stop by and say hi. Always, I end things on a positive note, or at least an optimistic one. I just want to say one thing. Everything that you feel afraid of, anxious of, that is normal. It's okay to be upset and scared of your future, of an unknown situation, of things that you might not have control over. But don't be afraid of the things that you can control. You afraid of passing your driver's exam? Practice it. Are you afraid of failing your math test? Study a little bit more. If you don't know the answer to something in the world, ask somebody. It could be something as mundane as how to tie your shoe, or as important as how to pay a bill. Don't sit down and be afraid. Just talk and practice. Talk and practice. All of you, boys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, everyone and anyone in between, you have that power. Don't you let your fear and anxiety overwhelm and defeat you. You have to beat it. I love you all. Be safe, be happy, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.